This is the Lifestyle Builders Podcast, show 99, Eradicating Entrepreneurial Poverty with Mike Michaelowitz.
Whoever's the guy who said, you got to sacrifice yourself to be of service, that guy's a jerk. Like, what a dick for saying that. The reality is you don't need to sacrifice yourself. You actually need to support the certain elements of your life to give you strength and confidence. Mm-hmm. Because if you're sacrificing yourself, you're in this constant panic mode. You can't give the most of yourself. You need to build a business where it does serve you, that you are cared for.
Frustrated by a lack of momentum in your business? Tired of putting in long hours doing what everyone says you should and still not making money? Sounds like you're ready for Lifestyle Builders. We'll help you get back on track, taking action, and seeing results. Head over to joinlifestylebuilders.com today to get started. A little bit more about our guest today. Mike Michaelowitz is the author of Profit First, Surge, The Pumpkin Plan, and his newest release, Clockwork. By his 35th birthday, Mike had founded and sold 2 companies, one to private equity and another to Fortune 500. Today, he is running his third multi-million-dollar venture, Profit First Professionals. Mike is a former small business columnist for the Wall Street Journal and the former business makeover specialist on MSNBC. Over the years, Mike has traveled the globe speaking with thousands of entrepreneurs and is here today to share the best of what he has learned. We had a really fun time with Mike.
Not that we expected anything less, because if you guys have ever listened to any of Mike's books or listened to his podcast, he is a pretty funny guy.
He's extremely funny and witty and really smart, obviously. But I think this is going to be a really, really cool episode for you guys, our listeners, to just kind of chime in on and hear all about kind of Mike's bigger mission with eradicating entrepreneurial poverty, where his book kind of concepts came from and how he's kind of building this out to cover even more important topics. And obviously, if you've listened into our previous episodes, you know that we covered Profit First and Clockwork as a sort of kind of what you need to know. And we asked Mike a little bit deeper into those 2 books on today's episode.
Yeah, well, I think that was the coolest thing, So when you have an author like Mike, they end up going on a lot of podcasts. And then if you listen, you hear the same thing over and over again. So what we wanted to do was make sure that we got the basic topics out of the way, which we did in prior episodes. So if you haven't listened to those, definitely check them out on Profit First and Clockwork. But what we really were able to dive into with this was that overall mission that he has, which the first time I heard it, I was like, that is so awesome. I want to steal that, which is eradicating entrepreneurial poverty. And, I think Mike is a breath of fresh air, like hopefully we are for you guys, in really saying it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be long hours, no profit, all this stuff that it is really like for entrepreneurs, but most people don't realize. Mm-hmm. So I just thought it was really great to hear not only what he's doing now, but also where he sees other opportunities for improvement in the future, a lot of which is aligned to what we're doing as well.
Yeah. So with that, we'll let you guys enjoy. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Lifestyle Builders Podcast. We are so very excited for today's special guest. We have Mike Michaelowitz on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mike.
Oh my, it's a joy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And I see you got all the books in the background, which is
the strategic marketing is all in place.
Yeah. I love that. We have them sitting right here next to the computer in case we needed to show them, for reference at any point during the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Mike, before the 2 episodes before this show, we actually deep dove into 2 of the books, which were Profit First and Clockwork. And, kicking this off, I want to just talk about this mission you have, which is eradicating entrepreneurial poverty. So the first time I heard you say that, I was like, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of books talking about building businesses, but a lot of people don't realize the challenges that entrepreneurs face. So I'd like to hear, how did that come up? And where is that taking it for you?
Yeah. So it's a systemic problem that has been around forever with entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. I remember going to a business meeting once, and I was trying to qualify for this organization, and they said, "Oh, tell us about your business. How big is it?" And the whole conversation is this chest pounding conversation, "Oh, I have a $500,000 business." 500,000. I got $1 million. And then the guy's like, "Well, I got 5 million." And the guy I got 10 million. And everyone is talking about the size of the business. So there's this first of all, there's this ego. The second component is the outside world who are not entrepreneurs think all entrepreneurs are wildly successful. Like the day you start your business, your friends who are not entrepreneurs say, oh my God, you're a millionaire now. And like you sit on the beach and drink Mai Tais all the time. You can do whatever you want. But here's the reality of entrepreneurship. We make no money as a general population. We work our tails off. And so there's this misconstruct of what the world sees or believes and what the reality is. What I'm trying to do is bridge us back to that reality. I'm trying to bring us back to where we should be really, which is wealthy, I believe, having impact, I believe, and having time available for ourselves. I believe we should achieve all that as entrepreneurs because we can affect such good positive change. So I'm trying to eradicate that misperception versus the reality and trying to tear ego out of it too. It's not a thing about size. It's the thing about impact.
I love that.
Yeah, and ultimately it comes back to, what it does for you. Because what we find is that, you're building a business to impact and help others, but at the same time, it's got to impact and help you as well. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs put others first and, we don't take paychecks. We work those 80-hour weeks and we don't take vacations.
We don't
and at
see
the
our
end of the
families.
Yeah, and then that leads us to burning out,
Whoever's the guy who said, you got to sacrifice yourself to be of service, that guy's a jerk. Like, what a dick for saying that. The reality is you don't need to sacrifice yourself. You actually need to support the certain elements of your life to give you strength and confidence. Mm-hmm. Because if you're sacrificing yourself, you're in this constant panic mode. You can't give the most of yourself. You need to build a business where it does serve you, that you are cared for. And here's the funny thing. That's what our customers want. I mean, our customers don't want us struggling and dying. Now, the customers don't say, hey, by the way, please rip me off, take all my money. But customers do want, in the back of their mind, they say, this business I'm working with, I want you to be successful because I want you to be around. I want you to serve me without distraction. Mm-hmm. So we need to care for ourselves to care for others.
Yeah. And it's also like that persona that you're putting out to the world. That's part of why new entrepreneurs coming in are so unsure of what it actually looks like, because so many people are putting off that persona of like, I'm a millionaire and this is what I do and this is what my life looks like. And to have that reality shown and to show people like, no, we had to build our business this way. We had to do it in a way that took care of us so that we can then move forward and serve you from a place of being in a good spot. And moving into entrepreneurship, people need to know that because there's way too much noise around what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. And it's a very easy trap to fall into to say, oh, well, so-and-so does it this way. I have to do it that way. And they say over here that I got all these emails in my inbox telling me that I need all these tools. And like the reality is, no, you don't. You've got to come into this and you've got to kind of build that business to what it needs to be for you first. And then you need to know what it is beyond that as well so that you can move in that direction.
So any new entrepreneurs that are watching this right now, I'll make it real clear about the success of entrepreneurs. All these entrepreneurs out in the world that are wildly successful. I got close to the camera to do this, but here it is. It's bullshit. It's total freaking bullshit. Most entrepreneurs struggle. And even when they achieve certain degrees of revenue, whatever the thresholds are, they are still struggling. Revenue, you have to understand, revenue growth is an obligation. The more revenue you generate, the greater the obligation in your business. You have to deliver on those promises that you're making money from. So revenue actually elevates the amount of stress put on an organization. The quotient or potion that fixes that is this balance of profitability. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, we can throttle both. You don't need to aspire to be a big business. Aspire to be the right size business for what your heart calls out to do. Yeah. And back to your point, serve yourself. Let's do what satisfies you. Don't placate to what you perceive other entrepreneurs are doing, which they're not anyway. Serve what your heart calls out to do and achieve that. Like that's the entrepreneurial game.
Well, and I love what you said there, because what we've always started people out with whenever they want to start a business, we're like, okay, well, what do you want to achieve in life? So we have them and, you can go through the vision boards. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what do you want your life to look like? And then for the longest time, what the missing link was, okay, people had clarity on that. But then there wasn't a direct tie to like, what type of business do you got to build for that? And one of the things we started doing once Profit first came out was we said, you know what? we can actually use like your target allocation percentages and reverse engineer what the business has to look like to create that life.
Exactly.
It's been a game changer because now people, instead of saying, oh, well, I want to build a $2 million business, we go back and look at the things that they want in their life, and money's a piece, but time is a piece. And we can say, you know what, you can do this with probably a $500,000 or $600,000 business, not a $2 million. So now you don't get all those complexities and other things that come with scaling that business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, I'm so refreshing to hear you say that, because so many entrepreneurs are just in this programmed mindset of success is growth, and that those do not run in parallel. Sadly, many entrepreneurs think that the way to achieve profitability, to even take home money, is they have to grow more. And they stay in this constant trap of just looking at one side of the equation: sell, sell, sell. But uncannily, every time they sell more, there's more expense and stuff occurring in their business. They're more stressed, and then more panic ensues to sell more. And they fall victim to this cash flow game of just trying to get money in as fast as possible. And hopefully they don't have to spend it right away, and they can sit on a little bit of money for a short period of time. It's a very stressful way to run your business.
Yes.
And one day that house of cards can collapse. So you're right. Listen, $100,000 business, if you run a $100,000 business and you're taking home $60,000 or $70,000, you should be effing proud of that business. Like, that's a noble business. I think that's more valuable than many multi-million-dollar companies.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked with consulting clients that have had 5.2 million in revenue and negative 200,000 in profit.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, there's a lot of complexity there.
Those are the guys I see that have the mansion. You go inside and it's all lawn furniture because they can't afford, it's this charade of success. It really is these different elements you got to bring in all together.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm curious, Profit First been out for a couple of years. You did the revised edition.
Yeah.
What challenges or struggles do you still see entrepreneurs having when it comes to financial pieces of their business?
Well, I mean, so many aspects. So one aspect of the financial challenge is that when they try Profit First, some businesses go into it too abruptly, too fast. They haven't been profitable. They try to go full throttle, and then they give up and say it's not working. I've seen businesses that say, I'm trying something new like Profit First or whatever they're trying, but my accountant doesn't support it. So they go back and revert to what their accountant says to do, which has never been working. Yeah. And I'm not trying to bash accountants. I'm just saying that if it hasn't been working, to continue to do something and expect that it's going to all of a sudden work is unlikely. You got to try something new. So I see a lot of people fall back to comfort. And that's probably the most dangerous kind of magnetic draw that we entrepreneurs have, is we are very drawn to something that's comfortable, even if it's not serving us. So even though our business isn't working, the fact I know Facebook ads well enough that I can just run another ad and maybe get some leads. Even though it may not be working for me, I'll revert back to it as opposed to trying something new. And I'm not trying to pick on Facebook ads either. I'm just saying there's these kind of common practices that haven't been serving us, but the fact that it's a common practice, we revert back to it. And that hurts us financially over and over again.
Yeah, I can speak to that personally, because we tried to start using Profit First in one of our brick and mortars. Tom picks on me all the time because it was my fault that it took us so long. Well, because I didn't see in my mind how we could apply that and how it would work, because I had been doing it for a certain way for so long, and it was just so complex for me to think like, oh, well, how would it work if we did it differently? But, we talked it over, and he was very adamant that we have to start doing something differently because what we're doing right now isn't working. And then it was like, all of a sudden at one moment, I asked one question, and then it clicked in my brain like, oh, now I see how this is going to work. And we took a point in our business where it made sense to kind of open up all the new accounts and move things over. And like we had planned it all out. And now that we use Profit First in all three of our businesses, like I honestly couldn't imagine
I love it.
doing it any other way. And it's done so much for how we manage our money in our businesses that before it was so easy to just be like, oh yeah, we're going to buy this thing and we're going to do this and you do that. Now it's like, no, we really have to look at how the money plays out and put in place a solid plan before we make any big decisions or do anything crazy.
There's a label for those starts and stops that you went through that so many entrepreneurs experience. Here's what the label is. It's called being a human being. Like, it is totally freaking normal. Like, change for humans, for us, is not a simple process. And so what you did with Profit First, and kudos to you, is that Profit First allows you to, first of all, behave relatively consistently with how most of us behave. Log into your bank account, run your business off your bank account. It allows you to continue to do that. But it also, by setting these multiple accounts and allocating money to its intended use before you spend it, forces that internal question. You said, yeah, that one question, those conversations like, oh, now I really see how much money I have available. How can I change my business? So you start reversing engineering the profitability. And I think that's another great human tendency. Yeah, we struggle in certain parts of aspects of getting comfortable with something new, but also we are very innovative beasts. When challenges are put in front of us, when we don't have money, for example, to do something, we don't just revert and throw our hands up in the air and say, I'm done. Many of us start saying, well, how am I going to pull this off with no money? And by taking your profit first, by reducing the money flow into your business, it's actually forcing innovation, which clearly you both have. And look how it impacted your business. So yeah, kudos to you. You're a human being. It's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and with that, so I mean, we dove into profit first. We started using it with all of our clients, and it was great because it filled, I think, that it's not a replacement for your accounting system, but what we saw was it filled the gap and it gave people a stepping stone into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And especially the target allocation percentage. And I remember after we were doing it, I started saying, I'm going to write profit first for time because Mike tackled, profit first for money, but he hasn't hit the time piece yet. And so I'm going to be honest, when Clockwork came out, I was initially excited and I started reading it and I'm like,
son of a bee,
this guy is out of control. Yeah.
So after I got over my initial kind of, jealousy, what I went back to is I was like, you know what? This is awesome because Mike is continuing the mission. And I think what Clockwork has done, at least what I've seen, is that it's made people aware of that time piece and how you can put systems and think about your business in that way where I don't think most of them ever have before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, thank you for sharing that. And I got other firsts coming too. So there's 2 more levels, I believe, that are above time. And that's actually the next book I'm working on right now, to start addressing these different elements. But I think time is actually the greatest impoverishment that entrepreneurs experience. Money's one. That's probably the most visceral. A lot of people, entrepreneurs that are broke, it's a painful thing. But time is the insidious one because we keep on spending and spending, but time never replenishes. So every minute we waste or spend doing something, it's not available for something else. And sadly, you hear these stories of people on their deathbed sharing how they regret all this time they wasted because we can't see the spend until it's too late. Clockwork, what I realized, I thought the solution to becoming more productive in our time was productivity. And I was convinced of it. But I found there's a flaw with productivity. Productivity is necessary. Listen, the wheel was a great productivity invention. You don't see anyone driving around with square wheels, right? I mean, obviously, productivity is of value. But as an entrepreneur, the more we try to pack in our day, we actually can take on more. So the more efficient you get at doing your own work, the more productive you are, the more you take on. And the more you take on, the more productive you have to be. And it starts this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy of needing to be more and more productive. We get impacted with work, which is a disastrous situation. I found, and I reveal in Clockwork, is that a business that can run itself is not a productive business alone. It's a choreographed efficiency. It's organizational efficiency. Yeah. It's the alignment of all of our resources, be that people or software, different types of technology, vendors, coordinating all these to achieve a common goal and outcome. If we can choreograph that effectively, then we're making a business that runs efficiently. That's what the goal is, not doing more yourself, choreographing others to work collectively to achieve a common goal efficiently.
Yeah, well, and once again, I think that filled a void out there because, I have a background in lean and I was doing all these things for organizations. But when people would ask me what book I recommended, it was like, well, The Goal is a really good book, but it's not for everybody. And you got to
Theory of Constraints, baby, TOC.
Yeah, there we go. E-Myth is another popular one that gets thrown around, but there was a practical piece that was missing. Yeah. And I think with some of those activities you laid out, it takes it down and makes it a lot simpler than I think most people make it out to be.
Yeah. So here was the big aha I had. So I am a huge fan of Eli Goldratt, the author of The Goal. I love Michael Gerber's work with E-Myth. The problem I have, or the challenge I see with E-Myth is E-Myth, I think, many people are consuming that, believing that one day you'll switch from working in the business to on the business, literally switch, like that one day you just flip over.
Mm-hmm.
And my realization is it's not a flip over, it's a throttle. You slowly extract yourself from doing work until ultimately you're designing the outcomes. It's a throttle. The goal, I love that book, and it's a must read, I think, for any business, manufacturer or not. But the problem I have with the theory of constraints is I consumed the book by believing that the problem in my business already is defined, that I have to simply seek it out. What I discovered, though, is we can determine what the bottleneck, the core bottleneck of our business is. I relabeled it the QBR, and there's reasons behind it. But I believe we can identify, we have the right to choose what we want the bottleneck to be in our business. Every business will have a choke point, the most critical, important activity. But we have the right to choose it. And then once we choose it, we need to follow principles, according to Michael Gerber, according to Eli Goldratt, to protect it, to build it, to make it run efficiently. And that one thing elevates, the entire business elevates. My key points were, it's a throttle, it's not a switch, and you get to choose it. It's not declared to you.
Yeah, I love those. So I'm curious, now that the book's been out for a little bit, what kind of feedback or what challenges have people had even once they've gone through the book?
Yeah, declaring the QBR. So the core concept of Clockwork is that every business has this thing called the queen bee role. I derived it from what I now believe is the most efficient organization in the world. It's not human-based, it's insect-based, it's bees. They can scale very quickly. They follow a very simple rule set. And the rule is there's a singular activity that's the most important, which is the definition of being most important. There only can be one. And for beehives, it's the production of eggs, because bees die very quickly. They live on average, depending on the species, for 6 or 7 weeks. So they'll die very quickly. They need eggs constantly being produced. It happens in a beehive. There's a singular bee that's responsible for it called the queen bee. The point of confusion some people have, they say, oh, that means there's one person in my business that's the most important. That's not true. The queen bee is expendable. If she's failing to produce eggs, the bees will remove her, we'll say, and they'll spawn a new queen bee. So what I am saying, that there's a most important activity, the production of eggs. We have to identify what it is, and our survivability and thrivability depends upon it. Now, you get to declare what it is. Here's how you declare it. What is the big promise that you make to your customers? What's the one big deliverable? What's your big commitment? It's called the brand promise for many businesses. One example is FedEx. FedEx promises to deliver your packages on time. Now, we peel back the onion one layer and we say, from that promise, what's the one most important activity supporting it? There's probably countless ones, but what's the one most important? And for FedEx, it's logistics. It's the movement of packages. Customer service matters. There's the quality of their labels, all that stuff matters, but the actual movement of packages is the most critical. They know as an organization that if that role is ever being compromised, the production of eggs is ever being threatened, they need to fix it. Maybe spawn new queen bees, maybe get other people to help out. And what FedEx does every time of year, it's around the holidays when we're recording this right now, around the holidays, package demand goes up. There's so many shipments going on. So FedEx pulls the managers out from behind the desk and say, get on those trucks. They hire extra staff for moving packages at the warehouse, the logistics and distribution points. We as our business need to know very clearly what's the one biggest commitment, guarantee, or promise we're making to our customers. Then peel back the onion one layer and say, what is the most important activity making that a reality, that promise a reality? That's your QBR. Protect it, defend it, make sure it's always running efficiently. If you do, your entire business will be elevated.
Love it. That's such a great summary, too.
Plus, I love the little biology lesson for anyone who's not
there you
familiar
go.
with bees.
Now I know.
Now we could give Elena something to listen to. When we talked about bees on this podcast.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you alluded to it earlier. You've hit some of the pieces of eradicating entrepreneurial poverty. What else is there? What do you see as kind of next? Is the other things that are, keeping entrepreneurs into that?
So I've been, so this is like not top secret. It's like secondary level, right? So this is not like DEFCON 5 or 1 or whatever. It's kind of in the middle. But I've been studying Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I can see an absolute parallel between the Maslowian hierarchy of needs, human needs, the base being like survival, food, water, next level being shelter, and it kind of keeps going up to self-actualization. I see an absolute parallel to the entrepreneurial journey where the base of every business is sales. I believe every organization without the existence of sales, that's the equivalent of oxygen for a business. You got nothing. If you don't have a single sale, there's nothing we can do until you get a sale in. Next level up is profit. That's more like nutrition for a business. Sadly, I believe now many businesses that are starving to death, they need nutrition, they need profit, are actually trying to sell more, meaning they're gasping for oxygen when they actually need to eat food. And you can't breathe in more to satisfy a starving body. So many businesses are even stuck right there. Over sales then is time. We talked about that. Clockwork addresses it. The next level up, I believe, is relevance. This is where customers see you beyond a transaction. They don't see you as a commodity. You're not exchangeable with someone else. They see you as significant and extraordinary beyond just, oh, I got my accounting services done by you, but in accountants, all accountants, are you cheaper? Because if you're not seen as relevant, you will experience downward price pressure. You're expendable. So the next level up is relevance. Are you in a position where clients see you as being impactful to them? The highest level, the equivalent of self-actualization, is where you are on a mission to have an impact to others, where you are beyond now a transactional business of providing a service or product, that you're actually on a mission to change the world, and that you see your business as a vehicle to changing the world. My life's purpose, my business's life purpose, is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. That's the impact we're trying to have. I have my business as an author. I have 10 employees here. We also have a membership organization. All that stuff is the transactional components. That's all that stuff that brings in financial cash flow. And it's a vehicle for changing the world. There's 180 million small businesses on our planet. 83% of them, we believe, are barely surviving check by check. My mission as a person and as our company is to eradicate that, so that 83% of businesses are now profitable, not struggling. That's the impact level, that grand mission we have.
Yeah, I love that so much. One, because we're very similar in that we always use analogies. And I think that just makes it so much more approachable for people and they get it. But two, like, because we hear so many people now talk about wanting to have a conscious business or an impact business. But what they do is they jump right to trying to do that. And without having the other pieces in place, it's like, I applaud you, but it doesn't mean you get to skip the other stuff.
No, it's not sustainable, and it'll be hurtful, and resentment kicks out. Could you imagine trying to serve others, and every time you serve others, you get punched in the face, like, oh, thanks for that. Thanks for that. And like you're sitting there, all of us, we start building resentment. There's a classic study. I don't remember his name. The founder of Celestial Seasonings, I think it was Mo. I can't remember his name. But the founder of Celestial Seasonings decided, they're a tea company, decided.
I drink that tea.
Oh, you drink Celestial Seasonings?
I do.
Okay. So here's the story. True story. The founder of the company says, I am no longer going to do Celestial Seasonings. I'm going to sell it so I can go on and have impact. Tries to start another business. I don't know what it was. Failed at it miserably. And purportedly met with Mother Teresa while she was alive, of course, met with Mother Teresa, and Mother Teresa said, grow where you are planted. I mean, what an insight. Define the impact you want to have, but use the vehicle that you've defined, where you're naturally strong, to be the method to achieve that impact, to do it kind of superficially, to do it as an external component to what your core competency is incongruent and causes only problems.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that a lot because that has become sort of a buzzword in the entrepreneurial community. Everyone's talking about impact.
Yeah.
And what we've talked about on a couple of previous episodes with guests or just on our own is that just like the word success has different meanings based on your thoughts, your environment, your perceptions, the word impact has different meanings as well. There is not one singular definition to how, if you've made an impact or not. There's no level of, my business has officially now made an impact. All businesses, no matter what the size, and a lot of times no matter what they're doing, are making some sort of impact. It's defining what that is and knowing in your heart and what your business's mission is, what does that impact look like to you? Because it may not be world changing, but if it's industry changing or community changing, there are
even individual changing, right?
Exactly. There are all different levels of impact. So it's kind of knowing that as well while you're building your business, having that overall mission. Know what your impact level is, because if you're trying to attain worldwide impact, but your business is not really set up to do that, you're always going to be struggling and striving for something that isn't really in alignment with what you have going on.
So as I'm doing research for this new book, like basically don't buy the new book when it comes out because you're going to learn everything on this show. I found that having impact is a two-step process, depth versus breadth. And I think we can have impact at a very broad level. Think of a athlete or a movie star. These are people that are having impact, right? They're entertaining us in some fashion, and they're affecting millions of people. But at a very surface level, that one amazing catch last night on Monday Night Football that was breathtaking. Well, that was 2 seconds of amazing impact and thrill, but it's over.
Yeah.
Very shallow, but very broad, affects millions of people. You can also have deep impact. Think about that heart surgeon who saves someone's life. That person has been permanently changed from the hours or days of work that surgeon has done just on that one individual to achieve that outcome. That's very deep. I think the mistake is many business owners try to be very broad and very deep simultaneously. And you can't. Pick one. Go deep first and then broad, or go broad first, then deep, but don't try to do both. One example, and I don't know if this is a great example because I don't know much about Dr. Oz's story, but I think Dr. Oz was a heart surgeon first, deep. Now he's a TV celebrity, broad. He didn't try to be the world famous heart surgeon doing surgeries while appearing on Oprah or Dr. Phil or whatever. He did one thing first, became masterful of it, then did the shift and did the next thing, and has a great impact. Yeah. We as entrepreneurs can follow that same suit. Choose deep or choose broad, but only choose one. Max it out before you try the other.
Yeah, and it's such a great point because one of the underlying principles is focus, right? And I think entrepreneurs, we struggle with that because we want to do everything and we have these visions. So that's a great kind of tie back into like, pick that one, master that. And then it's so much easier to expand out once you've got that. Just like it's so much easier to have impact when you've got sales and profitability, right?
Yeah, totally, right? And going back to sales and profitability, it's so funny. Like without it, the pure panic that can ensue, this peaks and valleys. I can tell an entrepreneur that hasn't mastered profit just by asking them how their business is doing on 2 occasions. Ask them today and they're like, oh, business is great. Ask them tomorrow and business is miserable. That's a business that's not profitable because I know what they're doing is money came in today. They got some deposits. They're like, yes, finally. And tomorrow it's all spent. They're like, oh my God, I want to tear my hair out. They haven't mastered profit. And that bipolarism, if you will, for their business is not a business that can sustainably serve their clients because they're constantly distracted by these peaks and valleys. So it's back to your point. We got to master sales. We've got to master profit. We've got to care for ourselves with time before you can move on to these higher levels.
So kind of building off of that point, as we've been, because like I said, we love the mission. One of the things we've been seeing entrepreneurs struggle with a lot of times is not letting the business take over their life. And time plays a piece into that. But we've actually been doing a special series on the podcast called Couples in Entrepreneurship, where we've talked to successful couples and saying, how do you build the business and the life at the same time? And I know that your wife actually speaks on similar topics to that.
Yeah, she did. So she has a keynote called Married to Mayhem.
I love that when I found it.
Yeah, oh, you saw that? Yeah. So she does a keynote, and it's really just a beating of me. I don't even sit in the audience when she's speaking. I just leave because I'm like, here comes the beat down. But here's what I've discovered, and I thank her for giving me this awareness, as painful as it was to hear, is workaholism is an addiction, and it is a problem. I used to actually proudly call myself a workaholic. And I remember now in hindsight, this is so clear, but back then it was braggadocious. I got a call from my friend John, who's also an entrepreneur. He says, Mike, I'm exhausted this morning. I only slept 4 hours last night. I've been working so hard. And I laughed. I went, I only slept 3 hours last night. And I thought that was cool. I thought I was the badass. And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm a tool. I'm a total tool. Like, we shouldn't be bragging about sacrificing our health, sacrificing our family. Why are we on this planet? Supposedly, Sam Walton's final words before he died was, I blew it. I blew it. He was surrounded by his family, and he didn't even know his youngest child because all he did was work all the time. He blew it. But we brag about him like, oh, he grew Walmart. What a wildly successful company. I question if that's what it's really about. I wonder if we really can have our cake and eat it too. And I think we can. Actually, Elon Musk just came out. He shared his story about his nervous breakdown. He's been sleeping at the Tesla plant, working ridiculous hours. He skipped the celebration for his brother's wedding to get back to work. Like, is that something we should really herald as extraordinary? I understand his products, his vision is incredible, but the balance is not there. And I wonder if that's something we should really herald.
Yeah, I agree. And that's been really one of the big things we've been trying to tackle, because we had a client who we really helped him build his business, and then it ended up in divorce. And so it really impacted me. And one of the things we started doing, and it really became our tagline, is it's your life, your business, your way. Get clear on what you want out of life. Use profit first and some of these other things to model the type of business you need to make that a reality. And then, follow the principles that other people have laid before you, but do it your way in the way that works for you. And what we found is that when people really follow that process, they're getting aligned and they're putting their family and what's important first. Then it kind of puts the business in the right place so you can build it, but you're not building it at odds with your life. You're building it in support of that.
Well, and I mean, our story itself was where that concept came from, because Tom, as the entrepreneurial spirit, tried to jump into businesses and I'm just going to do this, and you'll just support me because we're married and you love me. And I was very, very resistant from the beginning. Yeah. And it took us a lot of years. Yeah. And I'm a pretty patient soul, so I'm sure that contributed as well. But, it took us a really long time to get back on the same page. And people look at us now, they're like, oh my God, you're married, you work together, you have kids together. Like, how do you do it all? And the truth is, through a lot of very hard conversations, a lot of mistakes, a lot of figuring out like, oh, we did that completely wrong. Like, let's not do it that way again. And we're trying to kind of nip it in the bud by helping people realize, like, there isn't one specific way to do it. Your family is your family. Your life is your life. But you've got to navigate some of that stuff, because as entrepreneurs, it's very typical to get an idea and go off and running with the idea. Yeah. And when you tell it to your spouse and they don't support you, you just throw it off to like, oh, well, they don't truly understand, or they don't get me. Yeah. And, it's like you have to have that give and take, and you've got to find that middle ground with your relationship, with your family, so that as you're building your business, it's connected and it's aligned.
I think as entrepreneurs, we're super unfair to our spouses in many cases. I know I was, and I have been, and maybe I continue to be, because I'm also blind to it. I think, using an analogy, I think it's like telling my wife, hey, I got this new supercar. I want you to get in the passenger seat. Oh, don't put the seatbelt on. Let's actually take it off, and let's put a blindfold around you, and I'm going to race around blind corners, and let's go, go, go. Well, of course, I have control. I have the steering wheel. I may not know what's coming, but at least I can see. She's going shotgun with no vision and no safety. It is terrifying for the passenger. And it's impossible or very difficult for us entrepreneurs to see. And I think it takes an extraordinary spouse just to say, listen, you have a blindfold on me. Let's take that off of me. Let's put a seatbelt on both of us. Like, I think it takes an extraordinary spouse to be able to be married to an entrepreneur and to also help guide us to a balance. That's what we need. Left alone, we will go careening down the most dangerous pathways and often hurt ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that analogy, by the way. I'm totally stealing that.
Yeah. I stole that from my wife, actually. So.
Sweet. All right. Well, now I can attribute it to the Michaelowitz genius.
Is that Krista McCallum?
All right. So I feel like we have had an amazing episode just kind of talking about all the different things, both books, your mission as a whole. What is one thing in particular you would like for listeners to take away from today's episode?
For me, it's micro action. Like the big thing is I hope people listening heard some insight. It's that one or two words like, oh my gosh, that something clicks. Take an action for that. I think the mistake is trying to do everything. Oh, I need to do profit first. Oh, I need to balance time. Oh, I need to do... Then we get mired in doing so much that nothing gets done. I would challenge listeners today, watchers, just to pick one small thing. Maybe you set up one profit account and that's it. Maybe you block out a little bit of time to spend time with your family, whatever resonated with you, but pick one small thing, commit to it and do it. That'll have a greater impact in your life than anything else, especially if you try to do everything, in my opinion.
Love it. Love that. It's perfect. Perfect. Pick one thing, micro actions. Mm-hmm. And where is the best place for everyone to find you if they want to reach out, if they want to find out more about the books and everything you've got going on?
Yeah, so the best place to learn about all that, perhaps arguably the best place on the entire interweb, perhaps, is my website. It'll be shocking. It's called MikeMichaelowitz.com, but here's the deal. No one can spell Michaelowitz. It's Polish, it's long, it's ugly. So there is a better domain to go to. It's Mike Motorbike. That was my nickname in high school.
Oh,
I've never driven a motorcycle. Go to MikeMotorbike.com. I know you can spell that. All my books are there, so you can get free chapter downloads. I used to write for the Wall Street Journal. You can get those articles. I'm a podcaster. I'm a blogger. All that stuff's there. Plus, the website is definitely a different approach to website design.
that is an amazing nickname, first of all.
Thank
And I
you.
love that you have the domain name for that.
Mike Motorbike. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I feel you on the difficult names to pronounce and spell because my maiden name was impossible. So now I'm a Sylvester, and that's just, hey, Sylvester the cat. All right.
Yeah.
So it has been an amazing episode with Tom and Ariana, your hosts and lifestyle builders. And we want to extend a huge thank you to you, Mike, for coming on, for sharing all the wisdom, the jokes, the analogies. Love it all. Thank you.
You two are rock stars. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And like Mike said, take those microtransactions. And I want you guys to remember that it's your life, your business, your way. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Hey, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you know another entrepreneur who may benefit from hearing this show, we would so appreciate you being a good friend and sharing it with them. Are you dreaming of a life of financial freedom and more time to spend with your loved ones? Want to build your business to support that dream? You need Lifestyle Builders, a mentorship program designed to meet you where you are and give you strategic and custom guidance so you can build the business you need for the life you crave. Become a lifestyle builder at joinlifestylebuilders.com. Are you a Lifestyle Builders podcast fan? We'd love to hear from you. Head on over to tomandariana.com/iTunes and leave us a review.